Martha, we're going to hear Donald Trump giving an hoorah, which is the Marines' rallying cry,
Right.
apparently. Tell me, in Wakefield, is there a Wakefield rallying cry?
The People's Republic of Wakefield. I'm not sure we have a rallying cry. I don't know what it would be. A up, maybe? Or how much?
That sounds about right. You know, when I texted you the hoorah, my phone wanted to autocorrect to Oprah, which of course put the image in my head of somebody standing in front of 1,000 Marines giving it Oprah, to which the only response would be, of course, from 1,000 Marines.
Am I being really stupid?
No.
What would they say?
Winfrey.
Oh my God. I thought I was missing the
No?
joke then, and I didn't realise
Maybe
it was
not.
actually the joke that was missing.
You kill me. I'm James Matthews in Washington, D.C.
And I'm Martha Kelner in Los Angeles. Is it illegal for the US to target so-called drug boats in the Caribbean? Well, the UK seems to think so. It stopped sharing intelligence on certain matters.
As the world meets on the edge of the Amazon to tackle climate change, Donald Trump is nowhere to be seen. But in his absence from America, there is a significant alarm.
And we're recording on the 11th day of the 11th month, Veterans Day here in the US. President Trump has been paying his respects.
Martha, let's look at a significant story to do with intelligence as shared between the United Kingdom and the United States. The UK reportedly is suspending intelligence sharing when it comes to tracking and taking out vessels in the Caribbean. The United States, it's saying that these are drug boats, and for weeks now it's been bombing them from the air.
Yeah, this was first reported by CNN, and according to that reporting, the UK is no longer sharing information about those vessels in that area because it doesn't want to be complicit in that military action that, in the UK's estimation, violates international law. The United States is insisting that these boats are running drugs, but as of yet, there has been no evidence publicly released to prove that. As of now, more than 70 people have been killed by these strikes on so-called drug boats. And it's a significant development that the UK, as America's closest military ally, has stopped sharing this intelligence.
It does amplify, doesn't it, the questions about all of this, using the military to bomb boats in international waters. The American line is that they're targeting what they call narco-terrorists, but it has been widely condemned. For the United Nations, it's saying that this violates international law, amounting to extrajudicial killing. The UK, of course, it has territories in the Caribbean, so it devotes intelligence resources to know what's going on in that particular region. They were happy, the Brits, to share information with the Americans when the boats were being intercepted and there was due process, but that has changed.
Yeah, and I think it is that lack of due process that's raising questions, not just from the Brits, but from, high-ranking officials within America's own military. And the UK, obviously, in a sticky situation, to say the least here. This is very awkward for them because maintaining relations, good relations with Donald Trump's White House is a delicate mission at the moment. There was a morning briefing in Downing Street, and they weren't confirming or denying this reporting about stopping sharing certain intelligence. But by the afternoon, they had Downing Street issued an on-the-record statement which didn't take us any further. They said it's the long-standing position of successive governments not to comment on intelligence matters. The UK and the US have an extensive intelligence sharing relationship, from law enforcement through to national security and Five Eyes. And Five Eyes, for anyone who doesn't know, that's the collective name for countries that pool their intelligence. So it's the UK, the US, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. And this arrangement, this agreement is built on mutual trust. And now we have what appears to be breaking that trust.
Yeah, it's significant. And the question is, where does that end? It's a relationship between these countries based on a shared understanding of the law, of right and wrong. If you have one ally being seen to pick and choose when it applies and when it doesn't, well, that introduces an unpredictability, an unreliability. All of this, of course, when the United States is building up its presence off the coast of Venezuela. The aircraft carrier USS Gerald Ford, that's now entered the area of responsibility of the US Southern Command, close to Venezuela, basically. And the question there is, what does Trump do next with this huge military presence? A lot of the talk is of enforcing regime change, ousting President Nicolas Maduro. And, you have to ask, what would be the legal grounds for that? What would stop him? How much would he care? I think US allies, with regard to all these questions, will feel uneasy. The Trump administration, we're told it's seeking legal opinion from the Justice Department about launching land strikes without consulting Congress. No decisions, we're told, have been made yet.
It'll be interesting to see, won't it, how Trump and the Pentagon react to this, if there is any retaliatory measure in terms of sharing intelligence with the UK. You do get the sense that this isn't the end of this particular episode. So, James, this week, the International COP Climate Conference has been happening in Brazil with no senior US delegates there. Doing something about the environment, we know, isn't something that's on Donald Trump's priority list. He's called the climate crisis, in his words, the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world. You caught up with Tom Clarke, our science and technology editor, who has a different view on the importance of COP.
Yeah, I did, Martha. I had a chat with Tom earlier on. And before we got to the business of the day, I couldn't not ask him about Tattoo Gate. He's got this massive tattoo. And we're not talking about your teacup on the wrist, by the way.
You love talking about tattoos. So James Matthews' fascination.
It would be with you too if you'd seen Tom's. I mean, he has gone large. This thing's the length of his arm. Spoke to him earlier.
Gavin Newsom is here, and I mean, you're the expert on this, but I'm guessing it's an opportunity for him to look presidential. He can come here with the leader of the US absent, to take, the significant minority of Americans who are, fully behind action on climate change and want to see America stay in this, to champion that. And what he told my colleague Victoria Seabrook, who caught up with him, literally in the last 20 minutes or so, is that Donald Trump has abdicated leadership on climate. A lot of people would support that, certainly the ones who voted for him and agree with it. But the point he picks up, and I think this is the really important one, is who fills that vacuum, given the investments in renewable energy globally now way outstrip investments in fossil fuels, which Donald Trump is backing.
Interesting that, Martha. Gavin Newsom talking about power. This is a power move by him, isn't it?
He's positioning himself to do that, though, and you don't see a lot of senior Democrats doing that. He is definitely the most vocal opponent among senior Democrats to Donald Trump. No one else was there at COP, so he's putting himself about on the international stage, and he's obviously fresh off a victory for his Prop 50 measure in California. That's the gerrymandering move which will help Democrats in the next election. And I actually thought it was interesting. He chose to celebrate that victory, that Prop 50 victory, in Texas. So, going into a Republican-controlled state, going into the lion's den, if you like. And he held an event there that did feel, very presidential. He had, the stars and stripes surrounding him. And when he addressed that crowd, he was talking not specifically about California or Texas. He was talking about shaping the future of the entirety of the United States. And as he was doing that, people were shouting 2028, 2028 back at him. And, he was smiling. This looks like a man who very much fancies the idea of himself in the Oval Office.
Yeah, he's got game, as they say here. We'll soon find out if he's got what it takes.
It's Veterans Day here in the US, Remembrance Day equivalent back at home.
Yes, Martha, always quite the occasion at Arlington, resting place of 400,000 military personnel. A solemn gathering today. The president, he laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier and delivered a speech. Afterwards, he went on ESPN to give an interview, and we're back onto the hoorah. He was asked by the host to give an hoorah, the Marines' rallying cry. So let's hear it from the Commander-in-Chief.
Mr. President, why don't you drop an hoorah real quick?
I will. Hoorah!
Yes. Okay. We love everything about that.
There you go then, the president in Marine mode on Veterans Day. Just finally, James, a couple of things to look out for as the week goes on. Later on Wednesday, the House of Representatives is finally in session and voting. That's the first time since the 19th of September. And high on the agenda is the vote to pass a continuing resolution and reopen the government after the Senate passed that legislation on Monday night.
And something else to watch is the clock ticking for the BBC to meet Donald Trump's $1 billion deadline. Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or he will sue, he says. It's been quiet on that story here. The Americans, Martha, I don't know about you, but they never pay as much attention to the UK as the UK thinks.
Yeah, it always makes you feel quite insignificant, doesn't it? When you switch on the network news here and you think, oh, everyone must be going crazy over this BBC story and tumbleweed.
Yeah, we're pretty wee, actually, aren't we? But you know what? Something else. I wonder if it reflects the fact, actually, that Donald Trump pursues the media so often that it's a bit less of a story here. Nobody bats an eyelid. Happens all the time.
Yeah, that could definitely be a factor, I'm sure. That's all we've got time for today, but thank you to Tom Clarke in Brazil for joining us on this one.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed for listening and for watching. If you have any thoughts or questions for us to email, do send them in, please. Trump100@sky.uk. We're back again on Friday. But Martha, before we go, I've just got one word to say. Oprah.
Winfrey.
Got it in one. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.